Good morning, and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Albuquerque. Good morning to visitors, to friends and members near and far. It is good to gather in community. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. My name is Susan Peck, and I'm the Director of Music at First Unitarian. I'm here this morning with our Senior Minister, Angela Herrera, Associate Minister Bob LaVallee, Ministerial Intern Jane Davis, and our volunteer ushers and tech support folks who are working behind the scenes to help today's service run smoothly. We welcome each and every one of you to today's worship, and we honor your free and responsible search for truth and meaning, no matter who you are, where you are, and who or how you love. It is the love that matters. Here's a few announcements before we begin the service. First, Zoom has been experiencing technical difficulties around the world today. We're going to do our best to proceed with the service, and if it appears people are having trouble viewing or hearing it, rest assured we will post a recorded version on the website soon. We think we've got that all solved, but bear with us. Secondly, there is a very important special congregational meeting this afternoon at 1 p.m. on Zoom for voting members of our congregation. On behalf of our board of directors, I encourage you to show up and help us stay strong as a church. On the agenda are two items. One is to vote to accept federal relief funds to help churches during the pandemic. First Unitarian has been approved for these funds, but because of the way relief funds are distributed through the U.S. banking system, we need a congregational vote in order to use them. This vote has a huge impact on our church, so if you're a member in good standing, please plan to attend at 1 o'clock. Also, we'll be voting on ordaining Dan Lilly, something we had planned to do in March. For more information about this meeting, see the church website. Secondly, if you've ever considered singing in the choir, but you just couldn't commit to those weekly Thursday night choir rehearsals, here's your chance to join First Unitarian's virtual Chalice choir. Our singers have been collaborating on virtual choir recordings, recording individual tracks at home that I mix on my computer to create gorgeous four-part harmonies. Please email me if you're interested, and I'll add you to our choir email list. Finally, we have a very special message from our senior minister, Reverend Angela Herrera.
Good morning, friends. This week, we've seen some changes in New Mexico regarding the public health order and churches. And I know you are wondering what this means for us. On Wednesday, the governor said churches could reopen at 10% capacity. If we take that to mean room capacity, it would mean it's permissible for 35 people to be in our sanctuary. So a group almost the size of our choir. That's with no ministers, staff, or other volunteers. Later, the restriction was lifted a bit more. But on Thursday, our denomination's president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, sent out a very different message, one urging congregations to plan to remain virtual for many more months. So what's going on? To further confuse things, the state also still says that New Mexicans must remain home except for essential outings, and that if you must leave home, gatherings of more than 5 people are still prohibited. So is it safe to gather or not? How do we decide what to do? In 2 weeks, on the last Sunday in May, I'm going to dedicate my sermon to this issue. I had already titled it Exit Strategy, so that's perfect. We'll talk about exiting the pandemic as a congregation. This morning, I just want to say a couple of things about why we are still 100% on Zoom today, and why, even though we made the decision to go virtual very quickly, we're not going to move as quickly to resume in-person services. It has to do with the fact that the state has a different set of considerations than our church does when it comes to their decision making. The state makes decisions based on calculations of acceptable levels of risk and death. States have to do this all the time in pandemics, but also in everyday things like speed limits. But churches don't think in terms of acceptable risk and death. Churches make decisions based on inclusivity and care. The state also has to factor in economics and public unrest. In contrast, our church is called by its nature to put opinions and money last after mission and service. I'm aware that some churches, including a big fundamentalist church here in Albuquerque, have sued the government for trying to protect public health. I suppose they think that protecting public health is God's job. But in our church, we believe in science, even when it challenges us. We also recognize that people of color and low-wage workers and our treasured elders are at extra risk from this virus, just to name a few people. And we are called to put love and justice first and to protect their lives. And what I know is that a loving God would not expect anything less. For all of these reasons, we're going to proceed carefully and patiently, guided by the best science and by our most deeply held values. We'll chart the path that's right for this congregation. I'll tell you more about how we're going about that in my sermon on May 31st. For now, just know that the day will come when we are all together again. I visualize that day all the time. When I do, I imagine a brass band, and I see every one of you there with me. Not one person acceptably risked or missing. We're going to get there all together. So come and let us worship together today, knowing that this is part of that journey and that this day is a sacred gift. Susan, will you lead us in the lighting of the chalice?
We light our chalice today with words by Linda Barnes. Suspended between all that was and all that might be, we struggle to find this very moment, to live this very moment. Let us sit together for a moment and savor this moment. Let us relish this between time where past meets future. Let us harbor a faith that reminds us that right now, right here, is enough. Will you please join me in singing our gathering song, our opening song, Gathered Here in the Mystery of the Hour. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near, Spirit, draw near.
Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm a nurse.
I'm Heather and I'm a midwife.
Will you join us in the children's affirmation? We are Unitarian, Universalists. We are people of faith with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Thank you.
Are there any kids out there today? Would you like to help me call out some of our puppet friends? Let's do it. Let's call out Rebecca and Carl. You ready? Rebecca, Rebecca, Carl, Carl. Ah, there they are. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Carl. I knew you were around here somewhere. I got a question for you. This month, the grown-ups have been talking about a big word that I'll bet you've probably never heard before, but I just can't resist asking if you know what it is. Are you ready? The word is threshold. Do you know what a threshold is? What do you think, Rebecca? What? A threshold is a hole for threshes, like a rabbit hole is a hole for rabbits. Oh, I'm afraid that you misheard me. It's hold, threshold, like I'm holding this coffee cup, not hole, like a hole for rabbits. What do you think, Carl? A threshold is a kind of choke hold. Carl, you know, we don't choke people in this house, and I hope you're not choking anybody anywhere else either. What has gotten into you? You saw it on the MMA? What? How do you know about MMA fights? You watch them on TV late at night? Oh my gosh, I had no idea he was doing that. I'm gonna have to turn the parental controls back on the television. We haven't needed those for years. Okay, bye, Carl. Oh my goodness. Well, Olivia has been reading some big books lately. I wonder if she knows what a threshold is. Let's call her out and we'll ask her. Olivia, there she is. Hi, Olivia. I've got a question for you. Do you know what a threshold is? You do? Okay, what is it? Tell me. A threshold is a place for a mezuzah. Yes, that's exactly right. Oh, and you have a mezuzah that you want to show me? Okay, all right, go get it. I mentioned mezuzahs in our first service this month. They are something from the Jewish tradition. In a lot of Jewish homes, there's a mezuzah on the doorpost at the front door, and inside it has words from the Torah, which is the Jewish sacred scriptures. And it's a way to remember God whenever you pass through the door. Let's see your mezuzah, Olivia. Let's see. This looks like it's handmade or owl made. Did you make this mezuzah, Olivia? You did? Oh, it's really cute. I can see that this is made out of a matchbox, which explains why there were matches scattered on the floor earlier this week. And you used a lot of tape, which is probably why I found this empty tape dispenser laying around. We might have to have a conversation about cleaning up after your crafts, Olivia. But I really like your mezuzah. I like the way you've taped flowers and sticks to it. It's really pretty and just so creative. What? You'd like to put it on our front door? Sure, we could do that. And you say, what's that? Oh, you want to suggest that everybody make a mezuzah or something like it, I guess, huh? That's a good idea. And it would remind us of the important things to us, or maybe it can remind you of a little prayer, a motto that you want to keep in mind and have it guide you. One of my favorite little prayers to remember is really simple. It goes, "May the words of my lips and the meditations of my heart be of service." Yeah. Like a church service? Well, I mean, may they be of service to love, and our church is for love, so yes, that's exactly right. What is it, Rebecca? You will think about carrots going out and carrots coming in when you go through your threshold? You're very focused, Rebecca. I admire your clarity. Well, it's been nice to see you guys, and now it's time to say goodbye. Let's say goodbye. Goodbye. Take care. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm a nurse.
I'm Heather and I'm a midwife.
Praise be the nurses and doctors, every medical staff bent over flesh to offer care, for lives saved and lives lost, for showing up either way. Praise for the farmers tilling soil, planting seeds so food can grow, an act of hope if ever there was. Praise be the janitors and garbage collectors, the grocery store clerks and the truck drivers barreling through long, quiet nights. Give thanks for bus drivers, delivery persons, postal workers, and all those keeping an eye on water, gas, and electricity. Blessings on our leaders making hard choices for the common good, offering words of assurance.
Celebrate the scientists working away to understand the thing that plagues us, to find an antidote, and all the medicine makers. Praise be the journalists keeping us informed. Praise be the teachers finding new ways to educate children from afar, and blessings on parents holding it together for them. Blessed are the elderly and those with weakened immune systems, all those who worry for their health. Praise for those who stay at home to protect them. Blessed are the domestic violence victims on lockdown with abusers, the homeless and refugees. Praise for the artists and poets, the singers and storytellers, all those who nourish with words and sound and color. Blessed are the ministers and therapists of every kind, bringing words of comfort. Blessed are the ones whose jobs are lost, who have no savings, who feel fear of the unknown gnawing. Blessed are those in grief, especially who mourn alone. Blessed are those who have passed into the great night. Praise for police and firefighters, paramedics, and all who work to keep us safe. Praise for all the workers and caregivers of every kind. Praise for the sound of notifications, messages from friends reaching across the distance. Give thanks for laughter and kindness. Praise be our four-footed companions with no forethought or anxiety, responding only in love. Praise for the seas and rivers, forests and stones who teach us to endure. Give thanks for your ancestors, for the wars and plagues they endured and survived. Their resilience is in your bones, your blood. Blessed is the water that flows over our hands and the soap that helps keep them clean, each time a baptism. Praise every moment of stillness and silence so new voices can be heard. Praise the chants and slowness. Praise be the birds who continue to sing the sky awake each day. Praise for the primrose poking yellow petals from dark earth. Blessed is the air clearing overhead so one day we can breathe deeply again. And when this has passed, may we say that love spread more quickly than any virus ever could. May we say this was not just an ending, but also a place to begin.
Let us now share silence, sitting with all that we are holding.
In this sacred space, we see each other's prayers. We see prayers for health and for family, prayers of gratitude, prayers for those who work for the common good by practicing safe social distancing and wearing masks. Gratitude for our wisdom circle and the many ways that we connect within this church. Congratulations to our graduates. We lift up Anna's Uncle Jim, who passed. I see prayers, we all see prayers for those who are feeling loneliness and fear. And we also lift up appreciation for community and courage. And we lift up all those prayers carried in our hearts, unspoken, but no less keenly felt. All these prayers we lift up to the powers of healing and renewal and celebration, known by many names. May they be so. May we see the beauty and divinity in our neighborhoods. May we see the beauty and divinity in each other. May we see the beauty and divinity in ourselves. And may we all be held in the heart of love. Peace be with you.
Today's reading is adapted for brevity from Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend.
My buddy Mike told me a story the other day about his time in Somalia when he was in the Marine Corps back in 1992. He was leading a group of Marines who were responsible for holding the airport in Mogadishu. And one afternoon, he and one of his lieutenants were standing on a rooftop scanning the city. Suddenly, a bullet hit the wall behind them that passed between the 4-inch gap between them. They immediately hit the ground, and they knew how close a call it was. Mike's lieutenant looked at him and said, "I can't believe they didn't get you, sir." And Mike looked at him and said, "How do you know they were shooting at me?" And Mike saw his lieutenant's eyes go wide. And Mike knew that in that moment, that lieutenant was realizing for the first time that he might die. In her book, her excellent book, Advice for Corpses and Those Who Love Them, Sally Tisdale says, life is divided into the time before and the time after one knows one is dying. One really knows. So no doubt some people in this service are thinking, last week Bob preached about prisons. This week he's preaching about death. What uplifting topic will he have for us next week? And that's a fair question, but it also speaks to one of the points of this homily. Death is indeed a painful topic, but like that lieutenant, we make it more painful by resisting the important work of thinking and talking about our own inevitable passing and the inevitable passing of everyone that we love. So before I get rolling here, I want to say, if you're grieving the loss or the potential loss of a loved one right now, I hope that this message can be a balm to you. But I also know that we all grieve in our own ways. And if this topic is too much for you now, please take care of yourself in whatever way you need to. And if that includes stepping away from this service for the next 8 minutes, by all means, do so. And please remember that the ministers of this church are here for you if you need to talk. You never, ever need to go it alone. So there's a man named Frank Ostaseki, what a name, Ostaseki, who wrote a beautiful book called The 5 Invitations. And Frank is the co-founder of the Zen Hospice project in San Francisco. And in his book, Frank says that fully accepting the truth of death offers 5 invitations to live more holy. So I'll run through them real fast, and I won't do them justice by any means. But the first invitation is don't wait. That is the invitation to embrace every day and treasure every moment and relationship. The second invitation is to rest in the middle of things. When we're in the presence of imminent death, it's tempting to never stop and pause, to run ourselves ragged. This invitation reminds us that rest is part of life too. The third invitation is to cultivate don't know mind. And that means entering every situation without expectations and with a willingness to be surprised. The final two invitations are to welcome everything, push away nothing, and to bring your whole self to the experience. I have a personal story that conveys the power of the last two invitations, which were welcome everything, push away nothing, and bring your whole self to the experience. So my mom died of brain tumors back in 2001. Her decline was slow for a few years and then very fast. And the whole process for me felt like it lasted forever, and it ground me down to a wisp. I was living in Boston during the final year, her final year, and working for an internet service provider, making the most money I ever made in my life. And I absolutely hated it. And I was close to my mom, and it was really painful to watch her decline. And I just did not have the resilience to cope with it. And so I dealt with it in a terrible, predictable way. I numbed myself. I drank, smoked. My girlfriend at the time would give me her painkillers, which I found went excellent with red wine. And I just suffered inside that turtle shell of intoxication. One day late in the process, I got back to Boston after visiting my mom in the ICU. She was in Buffalo, and I wondered if I would ever see her again. And then my then girlfriend, to whom I owe a great debt, she had bought tickets to see Ram Dass screen his new documentary. So Ram Dass wrote a great book called Be Here Now in the 60s, and he committed his whole life to teaching mindfulness practices. And he passed in 2019, bless his memory. And he was and is enormously influential. The documentary was called Fierce Grace, and it was about people who were coming to terms with enormous losses in their lives. It wasn't painful for me to watch, it was cathartic. Watching these regular folks grapple with loss touched me inside, and I wept hard through the whole movie. I can only imagine what the people around me were thinking. What's up with this big, hairy, crying guy? I had hair back then. After the screening, there was a VIP reception, which my girlfriend had sprung for, and folks were lining up to have a word with Ram Dass. I headed for the free champagne. When the line died down, I figured I'd get my girlfriend's money's worth and go and talk to the guy. And I knelt down beside his wheelchair and explained how I had just come from seeing my mother in the ICU and how painful it all was. Now, I'm pretty suspicious of famous people, especially famous gurus. I think that's appropriate. But in that moment, Ram Dass was 100% focused on me, and I could feel the waves of compassion coming off him. It flustered me. He said very gently, "Your mom is dying. What are you getting out of this experience?" And that question shocked me. I said, "What am I getting out of this experience? I'm getting my ass kicked. That's what I'm getting out of this experience." And he very patiently and lovingly said back to me, "Yes, you're getting your ass kicked, but how are you growing? What are you learning?" I had no idea what to say. I kind of mumbled something back, and I thanked him and I walked away. But over the next couple days, something moved in me. I began to see that this experience didn't have to be pure suffering that I alternatively ignored or endured. I realized that what was going on was a sacred, important time in my human experience, and that the pain would still be there, but I could also grow from this. And the way that I dealt with my mom's dying changed profoundly. I slowed way down on the drinking. I stopped isolating myself from my family, and I let myself grieve. I welcomed everything and pushed away nothing. I brought my whole self to the experience, and that made all the difference. In this time when death feels a little closer than usual, may we accept the invitations that it offers us. And through those invitations, may we live more deeply. Blessed be.
As we prepare to take up the offering, I want to remind you that our Change for the Future recipient for this quarter is Oxford Houses of Albuquerque. I invite you to visit oxfordhouse.org to learn more about this program. Oxford House will always have a place in my heart. I have lived in an Oxford house for my own healing, and after that experience, I felt so strongly about this program that seemed so in line with UU principles that I led the startup of additional houses in Wisconsin. The Oxford House concept began in 1975 when just 3 people in Silver Spring, Maryland, decided that community is needed to support healing from addiction. They rented a house, set up a covenant, and agreed to govern the house democratically. Now there are thousands of Oxford houses internationally. There are 17 right here in Albuquerque. Many Oxford houses are women's houses where the women's children are permitted to live with them. The houses are self-supporting and accept donations to support house startups and individual emergencies, such as our current coronavirus situation. You can make an offering online by clicking on the link that we will put in the chat box. Since we will be doing this for a bit longer, we recommend setting up a profile on that page to make it simpler each week. And if you prefer not to go online, you can always simply mail a check to the church. We will now take up the offering for the work of this church and the work of this church in the community.
Thank you so much for your generous gifts that support the ongoing work of this congregation and the work of Oxford House. Thank you for reaching out through the interconnected worldwide web of life, spending an hour together in this digital community. As you shelter in place to protect one another and our larger community, thank you for your love that reaches out in blessed connection. As always, you can meet with your fellow congregants in breakout rooms following the service, but do know that because of our congregational meeting at 1 p.m., the breakout rooms will only be open for 15 minutes. Now to extinguish our chalice. These are words by Unitarian Universalist musician and worship leader, Matt Meyer. May we go forward in purposeful rhythm, that we may give voice to the melody of our imaginations, the music of our souls, and all the possibilities of a just world as we might together create it. Go in peace.
Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand, and Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do you not know about sorrow? And Julian, do you not know about pain? And I said, Julian, do you not know about hunger? And Julian, do you not know about shame? But she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do you not know about loneliness? And Julian, do you not know about disease? And I said, Julian, do you not know about cruelty? I said, Julian, it's too much, it brought me to my knees. But she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. And she said, no one does not know about sorrow, and no one does not know about pain. She said, no one does not know about hunger, no one does not know about shame. And she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, no one does not know about loneliness, and no one does not know about disease. And she said, no one does not know about cruelty. She said, I know, it's too much, it brought me to my knees, where I heard, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand, and Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. girl, do you not know? Do you not know about tenderness? She said, baby girl, do you not know? Do you not know about friends? She said, baby girl, do you not know? Do you not know about the spirit? She said, baby girl, do you not know? It's only love that never ends, and so all will be well.